Welcome to our Facebook Live, everybody. I'm Diane Ray, co-founder of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network. And I'm so glad you could join me today for another Meet the Podcasters episode. And we know that people have been feeling a little crazy these days and are looking for some comfort and guidance in these unprecedented times that we're in. So Tina Williamson and I hope that you turn to MindBodySpirit.fm podcasters and consider our network as a refuge and turn off the news, turn on a podcast. That's what we're hoping that you will do. So in that spirit, we're doing these Facebook Lives to introduce you to our podcasters, and hopefully you'll follow and subscribe to the shows, add a new podcast to your rotation, and see what can happen. So today I'm happy to welcome Rachel Corpus, host of the Angel Talk podcast. And Rachel is our OG podcaster. She's our first, first one to join us here on the network and help us with our mission to provide uplifting, entertaining, inspirational, and maybe educational content to everybody out there. And Rachel's joining us from Des Moines. So Thanks for joining me, Rachel. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I always love to talk with you, Diane.
And I know, it's so fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could join me today. We were chatting a little bit before the live. You got a snowfall in Des Moines, so it's already getting cold there.
Yes, that first magic snow is always so lovely before it hits us hard.
Right. It's magical at first. So, the Angel Talk podcast, for people that haven't been following you, has really grown since you first launched. And people really love the idea of angels. And there was an AP poll recently that says like 72% of adults in the US believe in angels. And that number is just amazing to me, that many people really believe in angels and they really want that connection. So, I mean, what got you interested in angels and what do you think they have to teach us, to help us?
Well, I was born with the understanding that I am an angel. I'm actually an angel incarnate. So I have an angel spirit in my body. And I knew that growing up. And when I was 4 years old, we had a car accident. I had a near-death experience and I was taken to the other side. And the angels told me, this is where you're from. You're a seraphim. And I kept that information folded in, hidden for a long time, and grew up a very spiritual person, sometimes a religious person. And then sometimes I completely ignored it altogether. And that was sometimes because, a lot of people in the world were not ready for a truth like that. I wasn't ready for a truth like that. And yet I knew it. I knew I was an angel. And I guess hearing that so many people are open to the knowledge that there are angels is very comforting to me and very exciting because I am one. So that's how I know they exist, because it is who I am. I was born of a mom and dad, and yet I know exactly what's in me. I'm an angel incarnate. We're here to give messages of hope. And it's time. It's time we all know who we are, whether we are angels or we're destined to be teachers or parents or podcast hosts, whatever we're doing, doctors, whatever. We're here to live authentically.
Well, that's a cool revelation. I didn't know that. An angel incarnate. So when people are listening to your podcast, they're hearing the words of an angel, which I think is really interesting. So, and the information that you share is so helpful. How can people, how can people be helped? Like, what can they learn to help in their day-to-day lives that you can share from the angels, that kind of information?
It's interesting because when you listen to my podcast in the first season, I'm not out about being an angel. I will hear me say Rachel Corpus psychic medium, because I wasn't quite ready yet. It wasn't until maybe the last couple of months that you hear me say angel incarnate. So when you listen to Angel Talk, you'll hear me bring on guests who will talk about their story, their expertise, because I love to share the mic with people, because I think that's fabulous. I love to bring other experts in. And you'll hear the angels speak through me. I'm a channel because I'm one of many, many angels on this earth and also in the ethereal realm. So I get to channel archangels, worker angels, guardian angels, also ascended masters like Yeshua, Buddha, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin. So when you listen to the podcast, you get their wisdom as well. And they'll talk to us about how things work in the universe. And sometimes it's little stuff, how to heal your body. That doesn't sound so little, right? But it's so simple. They give us simple, practical processes about how to talk to our bodies, how to talk to our money, what's happening in the world, how to navigate our thoughts when we feel like we're a victim, but we're never a victim. Even when it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening in the world right now. They'll help us say, okay, but here's where you are. Here's where we are as a consciousness. They're always coming in and speaking through me. And you'll know in my podcast when it's me talking to you, Rachel, and when it's someone from the ether or the quantum. And I give you lots of practices that you can practice on your own. And I feel so grateful that in the podcast format, you can put your headphones in and nobody knows you're listening. You have this meeting with you and your guide's source, and it's private. And you have that, and you can take it wherever you want or how far you want. It's just such a gift. So then as you progress, as you listen to the episodes, you're also with me as I grow into who I am, which is kind of cool. You get to see into that.
You've really grown into your gifts. That's true. Because from the beginning, what you were talking about, and then now what you're teaching. And also in the beginning, you weren't working with Sarai. And I want you to tell people about the collective that you work with now, because that's something that you grew into as you kind of grew into your gifts.
Yeah. So as a little kid, I had extraterrestrial visits as well. And, people don't talk about that as much. I certainly didn't. And so they started to really visit me more in 2022. And I actually asked them, what should I call you if you want me to tell people about you? And they said, call us Sarai. And so I talked about them in the podcast, and you'll get to hear about what that was like and how they visit me on my deck sometimes or in my bedroom. There's some kind of wild stories there. And yeah, I believe that started, I don't know what episode it is, but around maybe it's January of 2022, maybe. But if you look in the descriptions, you'll be able to find it.
That's pretty amazing to be able to be in contact with that kind of energy. And it's a loving energy, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. And, we all can. If they'll come and contact us if there's no fear, if there's love in our heart, and they know that they're not threatened. And they've been here forever. They're always the extraterrestrials. They don't like alien because alien is like other. And one of the lessons we all have to learn here is that there is no other. We're all connected. So they really don't like alien, but extraterrestrials, okay. They see us the same way. We're extraterrestrials to them, don't you think?
I guess so. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So, a lot of people might not know this about you, but you are an ordained minister who attended seminary, although you don't really identify as religious, but more as spiritual, not religious. So I'm just curious how that training has it helped you in your work today, I guess, to have that kind of base or that kind of knowledge?
I think so. I grew up Catholic, and I didn't know how to grow with God within the church because I felt personally that it was both wonderful and very limiting. And I couldn't always put my finger on why or how it was limiting. It was more of a feeling. And then when I kept growing, I knew why. I knew that a lot of the stories being taught in religion were just missing a lot of the truth, or they were untrue. And so I began a more personal relationship with more of a source God versus a personified man on a cloud God.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I still decided to go to seminary. I wanted to learn everything about the Bible that I could and where that came from, and even go to the roots of where did it come from, Greek mythology, and what was before that and what was before that. I wanted to go to the roots to it. So yeah, it really did help me because I want to know where it all came from. And I love all that because blended with that, as an angel incarnate, I also have access to all my other lifetimes, and I have some with Jesus. So I get to see, okay, where's the literature, where's the poetry, and where's the truth, and how do they layer on top of each other? I think most importantly, Diane, when I meet with people who have been hurt by religion, I can sit with them and I don't want to say guide them through that. I don't think that's my job, but hold space with them as they navigate that hardship, that trauma, and maybe move into a more spiritual life like perhaps I did, because I know both sides of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It probably gives you such a deeper understanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe of where they come from. I always thought that, when you think about a lot of the stories that you heard as a kid from the Bible, there's angels, there's dream interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
there's, visitations, and yet, people that are actually working with that today, sometimes they're called, it's necromancy or something like that. So there's that dichotomy when angels have been around the whole time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then even the story of fallen angels, no, angels who are rehomed. Um,
Rehomed. That's great.
rehomed. Not fallen.
So on your website, you call yourself a collaborative medium, and I've worked around a bunch of really great mediums, but I've never heard collaborative. So I thought that was a unique title. So when someone comes in for a session to talk with you and they want to get helpful, hopeful messages, what might that look like if you're a collaborative medium?
Well,
What does that mean?
not for everyone. I'll say that. So a lot of people seek out a medium because when they've lost a loved one, they really want the medium to say, "Hey, your grandpa's here, and he's wearing this belt buckle, and he looks this way," and they really want that evidence, and that's what they want to hear. And I'm really not good at that. Once in a while, that information will come through that's very detailed, but that's not really my gift. As a collaborative medium, what that means to me is before I sit down with a person, I have opened the door for all of their family to come through, including their ancestors, and I collaborate with them and their angels. And whatever message is supposed to come through in their reading will come through organically. I start each session by asking the client, what would serve you best today? Do you have any ideas for spirit? And then I really let spirit take over. And that helps me collaborate with both the person in the room and the spirit in the room. And it will feel a lot like, I guess I'll use the term coaching, but it's building the person's best life, often getting down into subconscious beliefs that maybe they didn't know were there. It's a lot of healing, especially if there's grief involved. And I really value my training in pastoral counseling and my teaching degrees, because I can work with people's different ways their brain works. So I collaborate with spirit. I'm also, in that sense, even though I'm using my expertise, I'm aware that I'm not projecting my thoughts and feelings. I'm purely channeling, and I let people know that. So if I jump in, I always make it obvious. I'll say, "Oh, this is Rachel speaking," versus spirit. So that's really what I mean by collaborative. I'm collaborating the whole time with a lot of beings, their whole team of guides and their ancestors, and also sometimes their ancestors from other lifetimes, or this is wild, but other versions of them in the multiverse, because we can have other versions of us from a quantum physics type of perspective. I mean, it's bonkers and great. I love it, but yeah, there's a lot going on. So yeah, I'm
Wow.
really
Yeah.
different, I guess. I didn't know there weren't a lot of collaborative mediums. I didn't come up with that title. The angels have just always called me that. So I didn't know it was unique, but
It is unique. I had never heard that term, but I think it's interesting that in one session, maybe say if you and I were sitting, maybe my mother might come through, or maybe it could be an angel or a guardian angel or another spiritual guide that's
yes.
around me that I don't even know.
Absolutely. And then you, as the client, you would also be empowered to say, I haven't heard yet from my father. Is he here? Oh, yes, absolutely. And then I might say, by the way, just to validate, I'm noticing that your father, he's standing in front of a beautiful white house. Does that resonate with you? I just want to make sure I'm talking to the right person. So I would do some validating just to make sure. So, there's some back and forth there just to make sure I'm talking to the right person because there's so many people in the room.
That's an amazing gift to have. Is it like, remember that movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg?
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's in a room and there's all these different spirits kind of trying to navigate and come in, like they all really want to
Yep.
communicate
Yes.
and talk with us. Is it similar?
Yes.
Is that
One will
accurate?
be in my cheek. One will be pulling this little bit of hair that grows faster than the rest. It gets pulled on like this all the time. I'm convinced that's why it grows this way. Somebody will be touching my earring. Somebody will be, I've even had my bra strap like flipped by a little junior high boy before. Like, nope, that's not okay. Everything's
Wow.
and standing in front of me. Hi, when's it my turn? Hi, hi. Lots of cats, lots of spirit cats and dogs cuddling at my feet all day. I love that.
Oh, I would love that too.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So have you ever felt as this gift, it seems like it's grown and developed and kind of
Mhm.
morphed, and gotten stronger over time. Has it ever felt like a burden or has it always been
Hmm.
something
Yeah,
that you
sure, it's been a burden. Before I said yes to it, um, I didn't always know what to do with it, and so it felt like I was always seeing things out of the corner of my eye, and, mm, there were times I was grieving, and I wanted to just be in my own grief, and I'm also helping other people through their grief, and I don't always have the best boundaries. I mean, I'm still a person, so trying to hold my own stuff together, sure, but, it's all about my personal growth, and so I'll have my angels send me the number 1111 or something like that, and when I see that, I know, oh, they're because I don't notice that number as much as everybody else. When I start to notice that, I know my angels are saying, "Hey, loved one, you're out of balance." And that's when it becomes a burden to me. But everything is by choice in our life, even if it doesn't feel like it, even though we can't control other people, but there's a lot we can control. So I know when I start to see that, I can say to my angels, all right, help me craft this in a way that feels loving again. Then I usually just take a little time off. Hence, I actually haven't dropped a lot of podcasts lately, and I have a new one coming out December 8th. So I have season 3 coming out. I just took a little bit of a break because I didn't want to create anything that didn't feel zesty and beautiful. Better to just hold back for a while, right?
right? You must have to recharge sometimes. I would imagine it must take a lot of energy to hold that space. And
Mhm.
I mean, have you ever felt uh, any fear or that you were communicating with something that was not was not loving?
Like evil.
I guess you could say evil, yeah. Because I know
Um,
when I meet people, sometimes if I you get that vibe.
yeah. Well, yes and no. According to the angels, everything is made by God. Everything. And from that perspective, it gives me such peace and safety that I'll walk into any situation and just start to communicate. And so if somebody calls me to clear what they would call a demon from their home or from their child or something, I go in and I begin coaching. I'll say, who are you? Why are you here? Take that costume off. It's usually some being that's been away from their home so long that they miss it misses its mother or something. So I'll call an archangel Metatron to take it home. It's 99% of the time it's something like that. It's rarely anything evil. When something is really negative, it's usually some energy that's been created because there's so much fighting in someone's house or so much poverty, and so there's a clearing that can be done, and then I'll recommend therapy for that family or something like that.
Interesting. Okay, so that could create the negative energy that you're feeling.
Oh, yes, poltergeist activity.
This is so cool. I could
Yeah,
talk about this
definitely.
all day,
Yeah.
but I don't want to keep you too long. So I'd love for you to share a positive message from the angels that something uplifting. And I want to thank the people joining us. Hi, Felicia. we have a listener, so I'm always happy to see that. But yeah, I would love to hear a positive message that we could take away with us tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing from Archangel Azrael, who is typically brought in when something is dying. He will show up as the Archangel of Death and also the Archangel of Great Change, Great Metamorphosis. And he is saying that great change is upon us, and not to be fooled by the presence of everything breaking down, because it's the opposite of that. And to embrace what feels scary and dark, and to feel all of our feelings authentically, allow for them, and to know that from a growth and manifesting perspective, don't be afraid to feel everything and give it its time. You're not going to manifest anything negative from that. Let everything come up and out. He's showing me the realm of angels surrounding our earth with light, so that as all the gunk comes up, if we will really allow ourselves to feel that, they'll surround it. So that old idea of don't be negative because you'll manifest more negativity, no more of that. No, really let it come up. And that will allow all of that goo, that yuck, to come up and be healed. And then Azrael is saying, we're tilling that. We're bringing new earth. New earth. We're bringing something new up. So every person on the planet who is willing to, in their own way, small or large, gets to grow something new. And collectively, everything is still on course for new and loving earth to begin. Everything is on course.
Well, thank you so much for that. That sounds relevant. It's
Yes,
something we can definitely use that with what's been going on. So I hope everybody will check out the podcast. I know you've got fans already. And if people want to add a new podcast to the list, Angel Talk with Rachel Corpus, definitely subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast app. And I also want to remind everybody to check out all the other amazing podcasters that we have for uplifting, inspirational, positive content. Turn the news off, watch a podcast, and join us on the mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network. And Rachel, thank you so much for joining me today. And thanks everyone for tuning in.